It is April the 1st, 2025. I'm Dr. Grantham Taylor Hughes for my show, The Grantham Taylor Hughes Show, with my guest host, Lena Suzanne. Hi, Lena. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Grantham. How are you?
I'm just fine. I'm trying not to laugh because we do pre-talk and we just joke around and laugh a lot. So I'm trying not to laugh initially, and people go, why are they laughing? See, I'm laughing again. I'm doing it anyway. Can't help myself. I'm a comedian out of work, and the reason is because I do ESP. Well, ESP, you mean it does telepathy? No, no, no. It's extremely silly people. And, no, and I'm the only one that has. That's unique. You heard it here first time today. Extremely silly people is ESP, a sense of humor. We don't really do telepathy. Nobody can think like another person exactly, but we all laugh, right? It's indigenous to a human being is a sense of humor. So the sixth sense is really a sense of humor. And people, no, I think just like you. No, it's a facsimile. That's not possible. It's like
So,
doing a fax, a copy. Yes, go ahead.
so what's going on then, Grantham, with people that seem like they don't have much of a sense of humour?
Well, because our workaday world, you're in the international labor camp. How much fun is that? I got to go to work today. People hate their jobs. They don't admit it though. No, I love my job, but they're just rationalizing. Mainly people rationalize to say, "Oh, I have a lovely life," and then they shut the door and they're weeping. And I mean, most people. That was who was it said that I always forget the name that said Quiet Lives of Desperation. Was that Nathaniel Hawthorne? I don't think it was Hawthorne. Somebody will get on there. No, it was somebody else. I forgot. But anyway, it's true. People are desperate on the inside because they want to have more. That's why the science of getting rich is so important when he talks about the impression of increase in chapter 14, Wallace Wattles, which is my most inspirational work because it's so very important that people just want more of everything, more beauty, more money, more of everything, more health. They want portality, but they don't know it exists. You see, as long as there's ground to stand on, you can live here. But they don't talk about that in the West. Only in the East they talk about these things. You really have to go to the East to really learn things. That's why I revere my Lama teachers, Tibetan Lamas, because they're just incredible geniuses and just talk about the things I talk about. I'm just a voice of them, really, when you get right down to it. However, I'm not a Tibetan Lama. They said that Alan Watt years ago, Alan Watt was a famous Zen Buddhist writer. Well, he wrote Zen Buddhism writings. Somebody asked Alan, they said, Alan, are you Zen Buddhist? And here's a classic answer was, no, because I always talk about the Tibetan Lamas, right? And they say, are you a Lama? No. But you talk about them and everything. I said, yeah, I talk about them. They were teachers, but I didn't get involved with it because I'm not really into esoteric stuff. I'm into exoteric. We're exoteric. We're out here in this life. We want to have more of everything, and that's what we talk about. Grantham Taylor Hughes is exoteric. Is it esoteric?
Let's go,
Esoteric?
let's go back, Grantham. You mentioned that as long as there's earth to stand on, as long as there's ground beneath our feet, then we can continue our existence. So in this one particular incarnation, in this body, you're saying I can keep going as long as there's something to
Well,
stand.
yeah, because I met these teachers that were old, real old in the East. I mean, people wouldn't believe how old they are, and because they have no concept for it. The reason why we have 100 years and out of here in the West is the Greco-Roman, excuse me, writings. We're talking about in the specific writings, they were talking about that individuals, humans, only very rarely live past 115. See, so we take mostly our writings from the Greeks, and because of that, there's an entity that 100 years and you're out of here. But in the East, they don't have that Western concept. See, they don't have limitations on that, so they live a long time, and that's called portality. I learned portality from there, which is proper mortality. Like as long as there's ground to stand on, and this ground has been here for a long time, you can live there. And there's no reason why it's responsible to live. So that's what I'm trying to teach people. Just live long and look good. Like I'm in a rejuvenation cycle. I'm 75 years old, but I don't think I look 75, but I'm getting younger all the time because I'm using the Body Brine to get into the cells and working with that, which is really easy to do. I'm not doing any surgery, by the way. Just for the record, I'm getting into the gene. They'll think, oh, he's analyzing the gene in a laboratory. Not really. I just work with the saliva because that's the jade of the Taoist monks. I work with some Taoist monks too, in terms of and Shaolin masters. I learned Shaolin karate and whatnot. And so yeah, I'm a karate expert. I'm a sensei in karate. People get interested in that too. But at the same time, the Taoist monks had the right idea, and they call the saliva jade, Jade, like the precious stone, the gem is jade, like the dark color green of the jade. But for some reason they call it jade. I don't know really why they call the saliva jade, but it's like a holy elixir that's really powerful if you utilize it. So we give that concept. We give tools on our videos for everybody to use this information. It's easy too. Is that easy or what? It's a part of your body. Is your saliva, not realizing it's like this really powerful elixir for healing and just healing everything about you. It's really important. The brine, I highly recommend the utilization of the brine.
Hmm.
And yeah, I came up with a thing called triple NB. Triple NB is a nano nap in brine.
Tell us more.
Yes, you lay down, and in a nanosecond, you can get 8 hours rest for 3 trillion cells. But then you lay down in the brine that you drink the brine and kind of spread it around you when you close your eyes, right? I was saying about avocados are really spread out in your salad. It's a good example of that. And just like parts per million in homeopathy, when you introduce some chemical process into your entity, it changes the entity. It's like you and I are talking here together. A third party came up, it would change the consciousness, it would change the discussion. See, a lot of people being aware of that's important when you shift the entitudinal, uh, 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 just the practice of shift and things that come into your orbit, shift everything on a constant basis. So getting in balance with that is important. But we were talking about balance before. It's really hard you pursue balance. So just like in America, they pursue happiness, but that means you're pursuing it, but you're not really happy. In other words, you can't really maintain it. You laugh, but you stop laughing, right? You're not laughing constantly so you'll stop laughing. So you were happy there for that moment, or maybe, but behind happiness sometimes is people are not happy. They're laughing, but inside is that quiet desperation type thing. It's kind of an interesting conundrum when you get right down to it. So then they say, well, what do you mean? Isn't it futile to even try to pursue happiness? But I call it divine futility. So practicing the doing is important. I call it divine futility, meaning it's divine. See, we have to do things like the Tennyson poem, ours is not the reason why, ours is but to do and die. That was about the Crimean War when they sent the 600 into the valley to their death. And they came out, most of them came out in that particular situation. But that was it. The idea, the phrase, bird phrase was to do. We have to do things because we're not the supreme deity. So outside of that, in terms of manifestation, our responsibility is to do. A lot of people don't want to do things, but then in reality they think they're God. But they go, no, I don't think I'm God. Well, that's what you're concluding anyway. You see, without knowing the factor of the doing process is very important, and because we're always doing something, you know that there's a constant. The cells are churning and burning. You got 3 trillion cells in your body. They're not dormant. They're always in a state of motion. See, we're the perpetual motion machine, the physical body, by its perpetual spinning of the cells that are a creation in front of us. Like Oppenheimer said that in reality there's a lot of space there. We see the images in front of us because it's spinning so fast, but we don't see the between the atoms. You can drive a truck through it or a lorry. I'm sorry for the British people. Drive a lorry through your cells. Go out there in the street and get hit by a truck. No, I'm not recommending that. That was a joke. Okay. But the man got hit by a truck because Grantham told him that between his cells he could drive a truck through it.
I want to rewind a little bit, Grantham, and go back
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the
What? What's that?
triple
What?
NB, triple NB, the nano nap with the body brine. So
Yeah.
we lie down to have a nano nap, and
Right.
then we use the saliva to
Yes.
send it to all the cells in our body. And do we think anything in particular?
No, mostly feeling. You gotta feel the saliva spreading out in your body. It's mainly use your feeling with that. Feelings are very important. I really recommend. And so when you drink the brine, just spread it out. Feel it around yourself. Unfolding into all the trillions of cells, healing them, making them exactly in the genetic structure. Because the cells are really a gene. The gene's a water droplet. So you're getting into all the imagery from the past experiences, past incarnations. I believe in reincarnation. He believes in reincarnation, and he speaks in tongues too. Grantham Taylor Hughes speaks in tongues. You heard it here first. Not really. I've been doing it lately. Anyway, but it's a lot of fun to do that because the kids do it. See, so why can't we? Why can't we as adults? Because the name, the adult, the word dull is in there, right? Adult, right?
Mhm. So you're saying we become dull as we,
Yes, we become dull because we become adults.
yeah.
Adult. A dullard, adult. Take the T off, a dull. I hate to say it, but folks, you're dull. I apologize. You got to laugh a little bit more. We got to tickle you. Don't touch me, illegal touch. I can challenge you that in court. He touched me, Your Honor. And nowadays, especially, that you're big trouble nowadays. So, it's just silly stuff, though. At the same time, because I do ESP. See, I'm extremely silly person, probably the top one. I apologize for that, everybody. I don't mean to be silly, but I am,
Yeah,
especially today. I've gone off the rails, haven't I?
yeah, I'm going to
He's
bring
off the rails. You mean you're in the railroad? Yes, I'm on the rails. That was Julian Sands in a room with a view. What is your occupation? I'm on the rails.
let's go get back on track now.
Yeah, there you go. Well done. Get it back
And
on track.
so,
Get the train back on track.
so I want to bring it back, and I want to go and revise the the fidelity ceremony that you told us about in our first video together.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Okay.
can we go back to, um, that that time?
Okay.
You
Yeah,
explained.
the Fidelity Ceremony. Yeah, it's very important. I mean, it's an important experience between two people because, like I said, it creates a republic because by yourself, you're a dictator. So you have to be able to recognize somebody else in your life. I mean, it sounds silly because it might be a silly concept to talk about, but in reality, it's not. Like you're your own viewpoint, you're a unique individual. And in order to uh, recognize the creation, so to speak. I have to see you in sight recognition. I look you in the eye and I recognize you as another individual outside of myself. It's not just some kind of merging collective of a big merging into one being. That's ridiculous. Okay. So we all have our individuality. And the Fidelity Ceremony in history was around the last time we did one, the initial one in this particular uh, millennium, not yeah, not millennium, but it was actually yeah, it was in the millennium and the previous
Oh,
millennium. Yes, go ahead.
sorry. So when was that?
What's that?
Are you talking about the year 2000? No.
No, no, I was talking about the previous millennium in terms of the 12th century, like in 1148 ACE,
Yes.
which that's where my predecessor. King Friedrich Bauer and King Henry II Plantagenet had the Fidelity Ceremony. They came together and they recognized each other, and then they documented that recognition with a trust certificate, or at that time it was called the tryst certificate,
Uh-huh.
because he because they Friedrich created the document and sold it to Henry, I think for an apple or something like that.
So
See,
King,
that's where the Adam and Eve, the apple thing came into being. It was really
uh-huh.
the Fidelity Ceremony.
So King Henry of England, King Henry II of England, and King Frederick Bauer of what country was that?
Prussia.
Prussia, which was Germany, right? No.
No, it was Prussia. Prussia was a country. Prussia was actually the entire Earth landmass. But then when Henry came in there, he gave him England. You like that? England became Henry's island that Friedrich gave to him out of the landmass of Prussia, and his benevolence, because they were very good friends. Instead of having a war, Henry got the island of Great Britain. Little be known, there you go. That's the history that nobody knows about, that I know about. It was trained
Yeah,
by my people when I was younger.
because I've been looking up King Henry II on online, and there's only so much truth you can find from Wikipedia.
Oh yeah,
Wikipedia.
absolutely. They're a mess anyway. Don't get me started on them.
But so I could find quite a lot out about King Henry II, but I couldn't see any relationship between him and someone called King Frederick.
Of
So
course not. Well, that won't be there. That would be novel if they came up with that. I'd like to find who wrote that and talk to them. They don't have that information. There's a lot of lost information that's not in history because you can't record everything. So you can't. Everything that we see is impossible to record. Every single individual that sees something, it's unique and different to me. How do you record all that? It's impossible. So we're stuck with the recorder's viewpoint. Whoever's writing it down, we're stuck with it. See? That's
Mhm.
why people hate history because it's not their history. It's a mess. And also history, HIS, I changed it history, IT. I usually talk about history and people go, are you saying history or history? No, I'm saying history. You know, the so I coined the word I'm sorry, the neologism. I can't neologism, right? I can't speak today. I'll do this instead.
that's better.
Exactly. The neologism of history, Grantham Taylor Hughes' word. Just like Shakespeare made up 1,500 words, I have a few too myself.
So, Grantham, before the 12th century, when Henry and Frederick got together and did this site recognition thing, were there no monarchs coming together and recognizing each other and like making a deal in the same way that
They did, but they didn't articulate it. It's kind of like we make things, but we don't explain it. See, so when you get into it, it's like anything that we do now. If whoever explains it would probably be the voice of the practice. You see, if you can't articulate what you're doing, what good is it? You can't teach people. It's like they always talk about the monks and the people that go off into the forest and they meditate and stuff. And some of my teachers said, "What good are they if they're not teaching what they've learned?" See, so that's why when they came together and they articulated this trust foundation was very important at that time. That fidelity ceremony between them created the republics of both Prussia. Prussia was already a republic, but they were creating the Republic of Great Britain at that time with Henry. So when Friedrich got with him, he said, "Look, we got to create your country. You've got to create a republic. You don't want to be a dictator of the country. You want to be the exchanger grantor. You want to wield the law, but you want to do it with myself." uh, Together, and we'll create the republic. The two people, see, we again, it helped. In Prussia, he was a king too, and a dictator. But so when they came together, both countries created a republic. See, Prussia needed to create a republic too, and also Great Britain. But in reality, it was already a republic because it was in the mind of Friedrich Bauer. You see what I mean? But then he didn't really manifest it in terms of this really powerful fidelity ceremony. Very important in history. That was probably a tipping point of history is when they came together and did this site recognition and create the foundation. This is some really good stuff today.
so you're
Really
saying that
is.
Yes, it is very good. Very interesting. So you're saying that Prussia was the whole of the Earth landmass, and
That's right, at one
and
time.
then King Frederick gave a little piece of that to King Henry,
Yes,
which
Great
was,
Britain. Yeah, he
yeah,
gave him the island of Great Britain
okay, okay.
because he was very fond of Henry. They were good friends, and they didn't have a war. He capitulated and gave them some landmass. It was really nice.
So, right, so they came together, and you say they made the first trust foundation. Now, what's a trust foundation?
Well, the Trust Foundation was when they did the Fidelity Ceremony, when they exchanged the Trust certificate. When that certificate went to Henry II, he was considered in that particular ceremony. You have a creator and a exchanger grantor. The creator was Frederick, and Henry was the exchanger grantor. So they established this documentation of this practice in order to create the republic. Excuse me, in order to create the republic. So now the holder of the trust certificate, which is called the trust certificate, the foundation came out of that, and the foundation, excuse me, the foundation became the explanation of the trust certificate. So trust became trust, and now the King Charles the Third, right? Yeah, is it Charles the Third? Is his name? Yeah, I
Sure.
think it's true. Is that it's not Richard the Third? Remember I said that I got that wrong, and somebody called me on that on the question. It's Charles the Third, right?
Uh,
Isn't that the King of England?
What, right now? I don't know what number he is, but
Oh,
his
it's
name.
the third. I know it's Charles the Third. Anyway, he holds the trust certificate, but he's not really standing there holding the certificate, but it's in the Bauer Foundation that's housed in the Buckingham Palace in their archives. You
Oh,
see what I mean? But he
we
doesn't
have
know.
that trust
Yeah,
certificate in it physically exists still, the trust
yeah,
certificate.
he's the exchanger grantor. He's a wielder of the law of the Bauer Foundation, but he's not aware of that. I'm aware of it, but he's not aware of that.
So,
Because they've forgotten about it over the history, see?
so what do you think the trust certificate says? What would that document explain?
Well, it just explains the fidelity ceremony in a small paragraph, and that's it. And then they signed it. It was two signatures. It was the first medium of exchange, the first money. Because if you look at it, money, you have two signatures at the bottom. It's a contract. So we're exchanging contracts. It's contracts law. The original contracts law was in this fidelity ceremony that we still are in today. We're in contracts law because there's two signatures on the document. The Henry signed it and Friedrich signed the trust certificate, and then the holder of that contract was Henry II. Now it's Charles III. Okay,
Okay.
who's but he's not aware of this. He's my first cousin, but this is just not public, and I haven't met him in this lifetime. So but it's okay. I mean, but this is important information for knowledge. I mean, knowledge is what we give out here. Again, whether you can use it or not, that's irrelevant. We seek knowledge. We seek the truth. So that's what we give out. We give out the truth, and I'm giving out information that's very historical and very important, not hysterical. Well, it could be hysterical if we start laughing.
I read online that Henry II was had a very influential part in legal systems and in terms of common law. Um,
Absolutely. Well, that's where it came out of. It was the Fidelity Ceremony created the foundation. The foundation was common law, just law. They call it common because nowadays they have what is known as statutory law, but that's in the bankruptcy chapters of the Uniform Commercial Code. They don't explain that either. We're using the UCC and the bankruptcy statutes. That's why they call it statutory law. But they can't reveal that because they don't want to reveal the bankruptcy in the marketplace, even though we know about it introspectively, but we don't know it exoterically. See, exoterically, it would be a problem because you might have revolution in the streets, rebellion, and things of that nature. So they're nervous about revealing the bankruptcy at large, albeit we're in it though. I mean, there's no reason why people shouldn't know about it. I mean, because it's obvious. Like we showed the dollar bill on on our videos before, at the very top, it shows the bankruptcy of a Federal Reserve note, because note by definition by the bankers is a debt instrument. So what does that mean? Obviously, we're not in a, it's not a credit, it's not a certificate anymore. It's a note. See, and what is a note? A note could be a memo written to somebody, but when you define it by banking defines this, I don't. The bankers define this note as a debt instrument. They wouldn't have to do that. You could say, well, a note really is a certificate, but it's not by definition. See, so it's a problem in language. Language is always a problem. So, and that's why logic is a failure. And when I speak in tongues, that's not a failure because you can't analyze it. You can't analyze this. You can't analyze that, but you can analyze when I'm speaking auxiliary country logic. We can get into arguments and antithesis over what I'm saying. People do it all the time, and that's the risk of waxing auxiliary country logic because you're going to get into antithetical situations. A 70-30 thing, 30% of the people will be condemning you at least, and 70% will be applauding you. But right now, we're getting probably about 98% of people liking us. So hang on for that one for dear life. But only 2% condemnation, but the shakeout of it in the future will be a 30-70 type thing. That's hard to buy. That's the main that's a marginal efficiency of capital that we live in our own life. You get 30% of the people condemning you, and that's a hard piece to bite off, in terms of life, but you don't really recognize the 70% that applaud you see. So there is a commendation versus a condemnation in our life. So it's hard when 30% is a lot. I mean, a surrogate representation of 10%, if you're giving out a percentage of $1 million, 10% is $100,000. That's a lot of money to be giving out. But if it's 400,000 or 300,000, you're biting off a big chunk of that percentage, like 30%, see. So 70-30 out of $1 million is $300,000. That's a lot of money to, when you're a millionaire, you have to give out a 10% fee to somebody. So you're talking about $100,000. So people don't really pay attention to that. But 10% is a surrogate representation of something. If you have a 10% representation, that's your surrogate. And that's an important representation of a large number because you can't really do the whole number. That's why they have nuclear half-life, because you know the halfway point, but you don't really know the precise end point. See, that's why they do that. Nuclear half-life is not really explained very well, too, by the way. They say, why don't do the whole? Because they don't know what the whole is. They don't know the precise number that the end point will be in nuclear fission.
No,
That's it.
you've lost me
I know
completely.
I've lost you. I lost everybody. Sorry, I lost everybody. You
Sorry.
come back. You're not lost. I can see you in sight recognition. There you go.
Uh-huh. No, I didn't know what nuclear half-life is at all.
Well,
So
yeah, it's just a nuclear fission when it's fissionizing. It's when it's uranium 95 interacts with hydrogen, it destroys the manifestation because it's volatile. It's radiate. They call it radioactive. It's very volatile because there's 95 atoms in uranium 95. See, so it means it's shaking a lot. And so hydrogen only has two elements. So when it gets in close contact with hydrogen, the electron separates and it causes an explosion. So that's called nuclear fission. But it doesn't really have to be an explosion. I mean, this is a very controversial discussion too. I've talked about this for a long time, that you can just move off into the chemistry of the whole thing and everything's in tranquility. It doesn't have to be an explosion. See, so sometimes that's controversial in itself. I mean, that's talk about a depth conversation of nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. And you see, I dumped that whole thing and do relostatics. We don't need that reaction of the chemistry because they have it wrong anyway. The periodic table of chemistry is completely wrong because
Grantham,
hydrogen has a neutron. Oh, it's at 30 minutes.
I'm going to stop you there, but let's in
Okay.
our next video
Yeah, do
talk.
the housekeeping, then I'll do my last
Yeah. So in
statement.
the
Go
next
ahead.
video, we're going to talk about the relostatics, and you can talk about the periodic table as well. That'd be good. Um, So, yes, thank you everyone for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.